Heya!
Zelda is full of mysteries and adventures, riding around Hyrule Field on horseback or saving a couple people from some common enemies, like bokoblins. But Zelda does have a rather dark side to it, so in honor of Halloween coming up, I decided to share my top 5 scariest things in Legend of Zelda. Before I get started, I just wanted to give a huge thank you to all of you guys for your support in my last video. I couldn't thank you enough, and hopefully my audio is better this time. Let's get started. Now, this may seem like a weird one to mention, while Tingle is more weird than creepy, but what I find creepy is the story behind him in The Wind Waker. In The Wind Waker, you find him in a jail cell on Windfall Island. Now, I don't know why the reason he's in the cell, but it's probably for a good reason. Link has to get him out of the cell to get the sail that he needs to sail across the ocean. When you free Tingle, he gives you a chart to find his island. Now, his island is rather odd. You would think he would be running his own island, but no. He has 2 people working for him instead. Their names are Ankle and David Jr. Ankle is one of Tingle's younger brothers. He has another one named Knuckle, but in the HD version, you have to find all 5 Tingle statues to meet him, or in the original, use the Tingle tuner Tingle gives you. Now, you would think David Jr. was also one of Tingle's brothers, considering he's wearing the same clothes as them, but no. If you talk to him, he'll explain how he was a great sailor that sailed across the seas, until he was sailing in a really heavy storm. The strong winds flew his ship around and damaged it. David Jr. woke up on Tingle's island wearing the identical clothes as Tingle. He talked about how he's forced to spin the tower round and round endlessly. When he's explaining his story, he calls Tingle that crazy guy in green. Ankle talks about how when Link visits Tingle, he's happy. He also mentioned how he'll be really, really nice to them. He proceeds to beg Link to visit more often, otherwise Tingle gets out of sorts. Tingle in other games is the goofy, weird Tingle we all know, and he still is in The Wind Waker, but something's clearly going on. The Ancient Cistern is a dungeon that's from Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. At first glance, this dungeon seems like a nice water dungeon, but below it, it's a bit different. Underneath the Ancient Cistern is a cursed underworld, not to mention the cursed bokoblins. Although bokoblins are very common and a reoccurring enemy in the Zelda series, these are just a bit more unsettling. The cursed bokoblins are very zombie-like. You can tell based on how they look that they have been abused for a while, but they still refuse to give up. Not to mention that one part where you're climbing out of this hellish area on a thin thread. Multiple of them rise up from the ground and start chasing you up the thread. The Ancient Cistern is a great dungeon, but I'll never, ever forget what is hiding underneath. Now, I don't have much on the Redeads, but they're still, honestly, terrifying. The Redeads are seen in many games, mainly memorable in The Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, and of course, Majora's Mask. The Redeads are these horrifying, mummy-like creatures that stand in place and make this horrifying screeching noise, stopping the player in their tracks. Just listen to this. They're hiding in tombs in the darkness of caves, just waiting for Link. Not to mention how tall they are and the frame of their bodies and their terrifying masks. There's nothing much more I have about the Redeads. Their design in general is just honestly terrifying. This terrifying sword comes from my favorite Zelda game, Twilight Princess. When you enter the Death Sword's room, it's just a sword tied down in the center of the round, dark room with a dim light shining down on it. The ropes that are holding the sword down have a Japanese talisman hanging all over it. This talisman is used for protection. It's called Ofuda. Why does this sword have to be tied down with hundreds of protection spells over it, locked away in a large dark room? Well, maybe because this sword has a Reaper-like attachment to it. The design of this boss is incredible. It's unsettling knowing a spirit like this is trapped away deep in the Arbiter's grounds where they kept horrible Hylian criminals. Why is this spirit here, and why is it attached to this sword? For half of the boss fight, you can't even see the terrifying spirit, but you're able to in wolf form. Who knows what other freaky things are lurking around in the darkness that only animals can sense? Again, something from Twilight Princess, the Twilight. The fact that there's a whole world of darkness, shadows, and perpetual twilight, while the only source of light comes from these two sacred orbs, known as the souls. How quickly the twilight took over Hyrule is outstanding. These shadow beasts that lurk in the twilight can run down on all fours. The mask that covers their face just makes them look even more mysterious. Not to mention the terrifying screech to make them revive their dead brethrens. Reminds me of the Redeads I brought up earlier. Now, let me talk about Zant. As a child, well, I still am one, he honestly gave me nightmares. At the beginning of the game, when you run into Zelda, she shares the story of how the Hyrule invasion started. It cuts to a cutscene and you can see all the shadow beasts rushing into Hyrule Castle towards the army that's protecting Princess Zelda. As the shadow beasts have killed many of the knights and have a lot of them held captive or badly wounded, Zant walks in slowly with two shadow beasts at his sides. It then cuts to this close-up of his terrifying mask. When I heard this horrifying noise for the first time, I was playing through the game with my father's help, and I remember getting so scared that I handed the controller to my dad. Maybe this is why I never finished it until earlier this year. When the majority of Hyrule is covered in twilight, the people of Hyrule still have no clue what's happening. They think they're still alive, breathing, while in reality it's just their spirit. They can't do anything, nor can they get hurt. Yet they're still living in fear, waiting for someone to save them. This video was kind of short, but thank you so much for watching. Tell me what you think is one of the scariest things in the Zelda series to you. Also tell me what types of videos you'd like to see more of. Check out my Discord server, link is in the description. Thank you again for all the support. See you later!